Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. Today we take you to the front line in the fight against the smuggling of cannabis into Europe. A multi-million euro illegal business centred on Linea, a town on the Spain-Gibraltar border. Sarah Morris, our correspondent, joins us. Sarah, the cannabis trade affects almost everyone in this corner of Europe. I wonder whether the police, both Spanish and the Royal Gibraltar police, who are of course British, are working closely on this one.
They would say that they do cooperate, the Gibraltar police and the Spanish police, and that's particularly important when drug traffickers travel and try to cross into international waters. If they get into Gibraltar waters, the Gibraltar police say they will step in, but there's a complaint really among the police officers at a lower level that there isn't enough international cooperation for what is essentially a gateway into the rest of Europe. Morocco, for instance, is the top producer of cannabis for Europe, and once it gets into Spain it very quickly gets into other countries. And as you'll see in our report, the police complain that their equipment, their speedboats to chase these traffickers are really far inferior to those of the traffickers.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed. More from Sarah after this report.
Southernmost tip of Spain, the city of La Linea de la Concepción, a gateway for the trafficking of drugs between Africa and Europe.
Vamos a realizar una misión programada de vuelo de patrulla sobre el estrecho. Vamos a realizar apoyo a una unidad greco que está trabajando en la zona. A ver si localizamos el objetivo y tenemos suerte. Venga, vamos.
Pedro Luis Bardon is a legend in the police force. He's spent the last 30 years flying over the Gibraltar Strait looking for boats ferrying in drugs. The 14-kilometre stretch of water linking Spain with Morocco has become a key route for drug traffickers. Every year, thousands of tons of hash and cocaine flow in.
Hay que ir a esos megapuertos tan bestiales de la zona norte. O sea, este helicóptero es lo mejor que tenemos ahora mismo en cuanto a equipación, con su radar, con la cámara, con unas posibilidades y con unos costos bestiales, posibilidad de transmitir en tiempo real, de grabar, de editar incluso a bordo para remitir en tiempo real a los equipos de tierra.
The helicopter works in a drug detection unit, which includes a speedboat. Without the helicopter, the police would have practically no chance of intercepting smugglers.
O sea, ahora mismo podemos tener un avión volando, que a lo mejor ni nosotros lo sabemos, pero nos dice, oye, ahora mismo se comunica con el jefe de embarcación a través de nuestro centro de comunicaciones y le dice, oye, tienes un objetivo al que le acaban de pasar hachís en tal ubicación. Entonces él, ya estando en el agua, acude al objetivo.
After an hour on patrol, the officers spot a speedboat headed for the Spanish coast.
Agárrate bien ahora, Es una carga de entre 2.500 y 3.500 kilos de hachís, navegar a velocidades muy superiores a los 50 nudos. Estaríamos hablando de unos 100 kilómetros por hora en el agua, 100 kilómetros por hora.
But the police speedboat can only reach a maximum of 80 kilometers per hour. So its target rapidly pulls away. Pedro Luis's high-definition camera tracks the smugglers heading back into international waters, where the Spanish police can't arrest them. The drug boats usually have 4 smugglers on board, and every trip makes a crew close to 100,000 euros. The pilot alone gets about 50,000 euros. The others share out the rest. They can wait there for several days for their route to become clear. This video made by drug traffickers shows several speedboats waiting patiently on the edge of international waters. Pedro Luis can only fly over the zone for a few hours, so he has to return back once again with the frustration of an unfair fight.
Que se ven aquí con las embarcaciones son gente que lo domina por aquí, deprimida, una zona en la que, bueno, prácticamente te ganabas la vida del trapicheo que ellos llaman.
The police believe just over 30 clans control the drug trafficking on the Costa del Sol. This district in La Linea belongs to them.
Este grupo de casas, por ejemplo, esto hace 5 o 6 años, esto era un erial, esto no era... Y mira cómo más o menos se ha ido, está claro de dónde ha salido el dinero para todo esto, ¿no?
A world of luxury that the man we'll call Julio knows well. He's agreed to talk to us anonymously about a job he compares to that of a company director. He's believed to be one of the oldest traffickers of hash and cocaine in the Gibraltar Strait. How much do you make from each deal?
Que yo ya ganando. De 3 millones de euros, 4 millones de euros, 200.000 euros, 300.000 euros, 500.000 euros. El dinero pasa y sale rápido.
In 20 years of trafficking, Julio has only been caught once. 3 years in jail that taught him to be extra careful.
Vienen de afuera, vienen de otros sitios, son con pelo largo, son mujeres, son, ya aquí no se sabe. Te meten micro, te meten cosas en los coches, te lo meten en el cuarto baño de tu casa, si no lo coges, si está jugando al gato y al ratón por ellos, ¿sabes?
One of the cats is called Greco, a unit set up to fight organised crime.
Que ahora tenemos que montar el operativo, esto es serio, que tenemos que montar vigilancia.
The Greco agents can spend months on an investigation. In the last year, teams like theirs have seized 5 tons of cocaine and more than 143 tons of hash.
Está la zona del puerto de Algeciras, ¿vale? Y por aquí estaría toda la zona esa de San García, Getares, que es la zona de playa común de Alijo, ¿vale? El puerto de Algeciras, ya sabéis, tema de hachís a través de barcos pesqueros, o el puerto de contenedores con el tema de la cocaína.
Greco's latest seizures are kept in a place guarded like a fortress.
Estos son fardos de droga, de hachís, ¿vale? Que suelen venir con esta presentación. Cada uno pesa por unos 30-35 kilogramos, ¿vale? Y por aquí tenemos más fardos de otras operaciones distintas. Aquí hay unos 1.500 kilos también. De hachís todo, ¿vale? Cada uno tiene su logotipo que identifica la marca del comprador.
The man in the red polo shirt is a former police officer who spent more than 40 years fighting drug smuggling. For 10 of them, he worked undercover in Morocco's drug rings.
Calculada en torno a 120-140.000 toneladas. Claro, analizas qué cogemos aquí en España, en el sur. Pues a lo mejor cogemos 1.000 toneladas, 2.000 toneladas, lo que sea.
A few kilometres away from the storage facility is a highly secure car park containing dozens of seized speedboats and cars, evidence of the wealth of the traffickers.
Los 4 cabezones de 250.000 caballos que lleva esa.
De las antiguas.
Es que es impresionante. Son 1.000 caballos de potencia. Como dice, corre detrás de ella. Estos son los típicos coches. Este es el típico coche que lo han robado, lo preparan para luego utilizarlo. Cuando viene la goma, la embarcación con la droga, lo bajan hasta la orilla de la playa y allí lo cargan los fardos y sale.
On the Costa del Sol, more than 90% of the smugglers' speedboats manage to evade the police. The strait is a haven for them, as this film shot in the middle of the town by a local resident shows. Scenes like this one have become common. Many people in ALGECIRAS are tired of the apparent impunity of drug dealers.
Se ha detenido a más de 7.000 personas. se han desmantelado más de 100 organizaciones que se dedicaban al narcotráfico, porque el narcotráfico nosotros estimamos que mueve en el campo de Gibraltar unos 300 millones de euros. Por lo tanto, hay barrios donde lamentablemente a gente humilde, gente pobre, que el narcotráfico lo es todo en esos barrios.
That's the reality in Saladillo, a neighbourhood just a few metres away. With the region's unemployment rate at 40%, drug traffickers have no problem recruiting workers. Most families are linked in some way to this illegal trade.
Es que hace falta trabajo, porque esos muchachos, la mayoría van con miedo, pero por la necesidad que hay en su casa.
Por supuesto. Yo lo sé por experiencia, por mi yerno. Yo tengo a mi hija con un niño de 4 años, mi yerno está preso. Y después van por una porquería de dinero, ¿eh? Los gordos son los que a lo mejor van por 10.000 euros. El gordo no se montaba en la lancha, el gordo en su casa. Y ese es el que se llevaba todos los millones, muchos millones.
La Linea's mayor was re-elected after making a popular promise to end the ease with which traffickers can lure the poor into crime.
Por el Estado se implantó el plan Marlaska, que está teniendo grandes resultados en cuanto a disminución de esta criminalidad, más presencia policial, mayor actuación de fiscalía y de judicatura, pero lo cierto es que el plan social que tiene que acompañar a esas medidas represivas no existe, así es muy difícil.
Some would say it's beyond a solution. José Manuel, for instance, is pessimistic. He fears drug money has contaminated countries, families, and even some police officers.
La cuestión de la corrupción es algo, cuando la ves y la tienes, cuando la ves de lejos, dices, bueno, existe y está ahí y no te afecta. Poca gente lo sabe y ahora lo voy a comentar aquí, ya pasó. Alguno incluso había hablado con narcos y había puesto precio a mi cabeza. Y cuando el narco fue a decirme, oye, que sepas que este compañero tuyo ha hecho esto. Y te deja descolocado. Dice, vamos a ver, si yo creía que éramos amigos.
A sense of betrayal that is worsened by the feeling he dedicated his life to an unwinnable battle.
Our report there from Sarah Morrison and ALGECIRAS. Sarah, of course, still with us. Sarah, thanks for that report. Fascinating stuff. For the police, clearly, this is a war almost without end. It's a continuous thing, isn't it? A battle relentlessly against this illegal trade.
That's right, and they feel that they need better resources. The Interior Minister, Fernando Grande Malasca, who's a former judge, he delivered extra money for this fight, and he says he'll give extra money over the next 2 years to buy equipment. But nevertheless, the police say that when they're chasing these smugglers, as you saw in our reports, they just cannot keep up with them. We asked the police officers really how they see this struggle going on and whether they think that one day they will end it, and really they were pretty pessimistic, as you'll see from some of the comments they made to us.
Tema, ¿tú crees que por la presión que hacemos nosotros se cortará?
Nunca.
Vale, entonces piensas como yo.
Nunca.
Yo pienso que es una cuestión de ley de oferta y demanda, y mientras la sociedad siga demandando productos y sustancias, vamos a decir, para generar situaciones de euforia, situaciones así un poco cambiantes, no va a acabar. Yo creo que no.
So Sarah, very much an uphill battle for the police. Further down the chain, there are people who get involved in the drugs trade as dealers, sellers on the street, people who feel they've got no alternative in life, few options, no job prospects, the same old story we hear many times. For those people, though, it's far from lucrative. Some of them get in some very dire straits, don't they?
They certainly do, Mark, and the problem is it seems like a lucrative way out from a difficult economic situation initially. Some people might be paid, for instance, €800 to be a lookout on the beach to check that the police don't intervene when the drugs are coming in on those boats. But very quickly, some of those people are arrested. They do a couple of years in jail, and that means that they can't support their families. Of course, we're talking about a region, Andalusia, that has a 40% unemployment rate, and despite the efforts of the local authorities, the mayor told us he would like to get more tourists to his beaches. That hasn't really happened at that specific area, partly because of the images of these drug smugglers coming up onto the beaches in some cases in broad daylight in front of sunbathers, and so it's a very difficult thing to break that link between poverty and the recruitment of these people who work for these drug barons, who are the ones who are living in these lavish houses you saw in the report, making millions and really living the high life.
Let's talk about those barons a little bit more. You mentioned they have speedboats that can outrun the Coast Guard, outrun the police. Clearly they're well equipped and they use their money well in that respect. But as I understand it, they're finding life a little less easy nowadays.
That's right, partly because the local population is getting fed up of what they see as the impunity of some of these traffickers and smugglers, and they're demanding that the police and local authorities do more. That helped the re-election of the mayor in La Linea, who's promised to do more. And we've seen that the Interior Minister, Grande Malaska, ex-judge, he says it's time really to go after the money, and he has former experience really in the Basque Country in the north, cracking down on the group ETA, and he says the key to cracking down on criminal networks is really to go after the funding, to find out how they're laundering their money. But an uphill battle, particularly since at the moment so many people are living off the ill-gotten gains of these barons.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed. You can see, of course, that report by Sarah Morris and Agnès Guerra again on our website, france24.com. This is Reporters on France 24. Stay with us, but most of all, do stay safe.